Hey, what's up, YouTube? We got Kizer in the house today. This is the We All Juggle Knives channel. And your Kizer knife will come with that polishing cloth and that clamshell zipper case. What is it? The title gives it away. This is the Chris Conaway design Sheepdog knife. It is a frame lock. It's got a ball bearing pivot and it is smooth, very smooth, well designed flipper on this. Titanium handle, you see the lock bar insert there. You see the pocket clip, open construction. All right, the blade steel is S35VN, and the blade length is 3¼ inches. And as you can see, it's kind of an extra wide cleaver-like design. Although I think they're categorizing it as a sheep's foot. At least that's what Blade HQ called it. All right, initial sharpness. Surprisingly sharp. I mean, for such a, it's kind of a chunky, thick blade. All right, but someone at Kizer definitely knew what they were doing in crafting this edge. That was surprisingly sharp, but that was merely the warm-up. Here's some more usage using this as a very expensive box cutter. Now, I don't think anyone would necessarily cut up a bunch of cardboard with it, but I wanted to put some usage on it and show it doing something. So this knife is fairly expensive. However, Kizer also has several budget lines and budget series of knives. So even if you don't like expensive knives, Kizer is definitely a company that's worth your time and taking a look at their stuff. All right, so I will include a link to this and to their budget stuff, which starts at around $25. They have some stuff between $25 and $60, so they do have good budget stuff. And the main difference will be the steel. Their more expensive stuff will have S35VN and, premium steels like that, as this does. This particular knife is around $200. And this knife is based on, other designs by Chris Conaway, who, if you were to buy the US-made version from Sheepdog Knives, that's I guess that's his brand. Well, I saw one on Blade HQ for $750. That would be the USA-made version of this knife. All right, so that's one reason why this knife is $200. It's because it's for people who want a Chris Conaway knife but don't want to pay even more. I gotta say that the steel performed very well. I mean, this steel basically laughed at however many cuts through cardboard. At least 100. This is a highlight reel. I did more cutting than this, but I don't want to make a super long video. But the last cuts through the cardboard were just as effortless as the first ones. That steel really retains sharpness very well. Yeah, so this extra wide, like cleaver-esque blade, those have been becoming more and more popular lately, actually, extra wide blades. All right, here, just out of curiosity, I had some paracord left over from another review, and I wanted to see how it would do. This is after all that cardboard. All right, and I did some pulling cuts, some pushing cuts, and some kind of rocking motion cuts that you might use like in a kitchen. And it was pretty good at guillotining this paracord. Now, this is not meant to be any sort of scientific test. My cutting board there is a little irregular, so if it did struggle on any of the cuts, it was just because the surface underneath it. But in general, like I said, great edge retention on this. This is after the cardboard, and now, like I was saying, these extra wide blade shapes, kind of funky, weird-looking blade shapes, they're getting more and more popular. It's not really the blade shape I prefer. I usually like basically more pointy blades, more stabby blades, right? But, this was sent to me by Kizer, by the way. I specifically chose a blade shape that I wouldn't normally get for myself because I wanted my my subscribers to be able to see a review that they might not normally see on this channel. So definitely a big thank you to Kizer for helping me to show you this blade. Here it is making some thin wood shavings. Right, you can see the sharpness on this thing. Sometimes people ask, hey, how do you get free knives? Well, I mean, I've been on YouTube for 8 years, and every single week I've devoted at least 20 hours. So what's 20 hours a week times 8 years? Basically you got to put in effort, and it will be rewarded in time. That would be my advice. So as you can see, this knife is still well sharp enough to whittle with. I'm putting an edge on that little arrowhead. A wooden edge. Can a wooden edge cut? Anything can cut if it's moving fast enough, actually. But yeah, putting on an edge with my edge. But yeah, I'm enjoying this knife. It's kind of growing on me, even though, as I said, this blade shape is not my usual. And with a wide, sort of chunky blade, they could have easily messed this up, and I'm very glad they didn't, because yeah, like they could have messed up the execution, and you would have had like just a chode boat anchor. Yeah, how would that be for the name of a knife? That if they had messed up the edge or messed up the flipper, that's what this would have been. I'm very glad they didn't make a chode boat anchor. I gotta say, the handle is very comfortable. That contoured handle. The whale doing a front flip silhouette, as I would call it. It's comfortable. All right, final thoughts on this knife. I gotta say, they did a good job. First of all, the pivot, super smooth. I mean, the deployment, super smooth. The lockup, solid. Came very sharp. I really like that steel. Good edge retention there. Let's see, comfortable handle. I mean, the only hit you could give this is that it's fairly heavy. It's a little more than 6 ounces. That could be a deal breaker to some people. It doesn't really bother me at all, but just be aware. It's kind of heavy, and because it is extra wide, you also will definitely feel it in your pocket. And, maybe you like that feeling. Maybe you really like it. Maybe it's dirty. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It's a beautiful knife. They did a very good job on this. Now, what would people use this for? I would say that it's like a collectible, just everyday carry utility type knife for people who don't mind a wider, heavier knife. I think people feel like they're getting more knife when you have a kind of thicker, heavier, wider knife. They just feel like they're getting more for their money. I think that's why that trend is quite popular. Well, all right, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed seeing this. Check out the text description box, because as I said, they have a budget line, and I will include links to those items as well. All right, this has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.